In the 16th century, Prague had a large Jewish community that lived in the ghetto known as the Yosifov. The Jews had lived in Prague for many years, rubbing along reasonably with their Christian neighbors. In the 16th century, however, things deteriorated, and the Jewish population increasingly came under attack. The people did not know what to do. Should they leave? But then where should they go? Should they stay? But then how would they make a living? As the century wore on, conditions grew worse, and a rumor soon circulated around Yosifov that the Holy Roman Emperor Rudolph II was to expel all the Jews from his lands, or even worse, have them killed. The people of Yosifov despaired and turned to their rabbi. What should they do? The rabbi, Judah Lo ben Bezalel, also known as the Maharel, listened to his people, and then spent a night and a day in deep study. He gathered the old books and manuscripts of his fathers, searching for an answer to his people's plight. Finally, in an old Chaldean book, he found his answer. Taking a clean piece of parchment, he wrote down 3 lines of Hebrew, and as the ink dried, readied himself for the work ahead. Rabbi Lo took the heavy key from the bundle that lay on the desk, and lifting up a lamp and the parchment, walked towards the small door at the back of his library. The key was stiff in the lock. The door had not been opened for many years. As Rabbi Lo climbed the old stone steps that led up, and up, he remembered his great-grandfather, Bezalel. One night, a long time ago, the people of Yosifov had been threatened, and then Bezalel, a great man amongst his people, had secretly slipped down to the banks of the Vltava. There he had gathered the mud of the riverbank and formed it into a figure, a golem. And with that golem, the Jews of Prague had been saved from harm. Rabbi Lo reached the top of the stairs, and opening an old wooden door, he entered a room in total darkness. Lifting his lamp up high, he saw the large shape in the corner. He walked forward and smiled at the sight of the golem lying slumped on the floor. Rabbi Lo bent down and slipped the parchment, or shem, into the golem's mouth. Then, muttering a mystical prayer and speaking gently, called on the golem to wake up. The clay man shifted, and his eyes opened. Rising to his feet, he bowed stiffly to the rabbi. The rabbi named the golem Joseph, or Yosel, and he walked the Yosifov, keeping the people from harm. The people rejoiced and felt safe with Yosel. The young men, so fond of throwing stones at the Jewish women in the market, were soon scared off by the strange-looking Jew called Yosel. The merchants who failed to pay their debts soon arrived with full purses after a visit from Yosel. On the following Friday afternoon, Rabbi Lo called the golem to him. It was 1 hour before sunset, and the rabbi was mindful of the teaching that all should remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. Looking at the golem, he spoke his mystical prayer, and removed the shem from the golem's mouth. Instantly, the clay eyes shut, and the creature slumped to the floor, no longer alive. The Sabbath was celebrated, and many gave thanks for the peace and the protection that now appeared to be surrounding the Yosefov. On the following Sunday evening, Rabbi Lowe again awakened the golem with mystical prayers, and placed the shem in his mouth. Once more, Yosel walked the streets of the Yosefov, and once again, the people went about their business with no fear. And so it continued for many weeks. But perhaps not quite as normal. The golem did more than just scare the young men. Perhaps he even beat them. Those who came to pay their debts did so with bruised faces and black eyes. But the people of Yosefov felt happy and safe. One Friday, late in the year, Rabbi Lowe was called to visit a family whose son was wandering from the faith. Meeting in an inn, the old couple pleaded with the rabbi to help them. The young man was headstrong and argued fiercely with his parents. After an hour with little progress, Rabbi Lowe sent the golem to fetch some food for them all. The argument circled between them all, and even the food did not seem to help. The rabbi was disturbed by the thought of the young man leaving the faith, and grew distracted. Eventually, with nothing settled, the company went its separate ways. The rabbi headed for home, the old couple to their house, and their son remained at the inn. As Rabbi Lowe walked along, he turned into a side street and realized how dim the light was. The sun was about to set. It was almost Sabbath. Rabbi Lowe flew to the synagogue and arrived just as the choir started singing the Lectio Dodi. Sabbath had begun. And then, at that moment, two things happened. The young man in the inn suddenly fell to the floor, convulsing and crying out in agony, and died in a matter of moments, his lips blue with poison. And Rabbi Lowe suddenly remembered the golem. When the choir started singing the Lectio Dodi and Sabbath began, Golem realized he was still alive, but with no master to control him. Like a child without a teacher, he gleefully ran up and down all the stairs in the rabbi's house. When he tired of that game, he started to smash the dishes in the kitchen and break the furniture. Next he went to the rabbi's bedroom and threw the furniture about. Naturally, all this made a noise, and soon a crowd began to gather outside the rabbi's house to wonder at what was going on inside. No sooner had they arrived when the rabbi's slippers flew out the window, to be quickly followed by a coat and some trousers. Soon the crowd below were gratefully cheering at every donation thoughtfully provided by the golem as he emptied every wardrobe and chest in his master's bedroom. The bedroom was soon wrecked, and the golem moved on to the rabbi's library. By this time, Rabbi Lowe had arrived home to see the happy crowd, his hats being worn by several local youths, and two men fighting over his fur coat. He rushed inside and found the golem in his library, his big clay fists already full of books. Rabbi Lowe knew he had no time to lose, and taking his chance while the golem's hands were full, he flew at the clay man and snatched the shem from his mouth. The golem instantly fell to the floor, the books tumbling from his lifeless hands. Rabbi Lowe hurried back to the synagogue and instructed the choir to sing the Lectio Dodi again. Although this struck many as unusual, they obeyed, and Sabbath started afresh with no sin. On the Sunday morning, Rabbi Lowe dragged the golem up the stairs and locked him in the dark room. And there he stays asleep, ready to be awakened if he is ever needed by the Jews of the Yosefov.